think we view the world in good guys and bad guys, heroes, villains, victims, guides, and everything. We need a category for everyone. This person's the hero. This person's the villain. This person's the guide to the hero. This person is the victim that needs to be rescued. And I don't think life is that clean. I don't think anything is that linear. I think in my life, I've been all the above. I think I was a victim as a child. I think I've been a villain. I think I've been a hero to some. And I think I'm a guide for other people, right? And we want the story to be linear. That is good storytelling. Every story has that. A hero who's trying to find himself on this journey to save the victim, and the guide is helping the hero to figure himself out. The hero has this moment. He defeats the villain. The villain fades away. The hero, right? It's very linear. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's life. I don't think that's my life. I don't think that's anybody's life. I think we've all been on the spectrum. And so I think when I listen to that podcast, I think we really do ourselves a disservice by trying to position people into those specific boxes. All of us have blind spots. All of us make mistakes. And I think when you see these phenomenons like the megachurch, when you see these phenomenons like pan-social activities, which is what I try to stay away from. Pan-social is when people just watch their favorite influencers live. And I'm like, nope, you're going to call into a Zoom call and I'm going to get to know you. And if I see you in the street, we're going to go get coffee. Like, we're not going to do this weird, like, cult of personality Ruslan thing, right? Like, I'm not a fan of that. I want to actually meet people. And I get it. It's not scalable. I understand that. But I want to create some degree of normalcy with my platform. It's a whole nother point. But I say all that to say that when I listen to that, I think we've created an environment and we've created a culture for people to plant churches at 26 years old who are highly gifted communicators, very entrepreneurial, amazing, brilliant speakers, are able to retain information and communicate it in a way that makes sense. We've created a culture in Christendom because of maybe the idolatry in our own hearts where we elevate guys like that, like Driscoll. Not just Driscoll, just one of hundreds of guys. And we promote them and then get mad at them when they fail. The Baby, talked about him earlier. We promoted a rapper who, in self-defense, shot quite a few people and is very misogynistic and has a history of violence. We've promoted them, and then he said the wrong thing about the LGBTQ community and then canceled him. That's what we do. We promote people to the position of kings because there's that idolatry in our heart. We would like the children of Israel wanting a king, and God's like, bad idea. No, we really want a king. We want to be like the other nations. Okay. And then they get Saul, right? And so I think what the rise and fall of Mars Hill is it's a mirror, man. That's like, you can't villainize one person and be like, he's a bad guy. Bro, at 26, I am so happy I wasn't successful at 26. This dude planted a mega church at 26 years old. And he is incredibly talented, incredibly gifted. And I've met him before. He's super humble when I met him. Great, like, genuine guy. Sat there, talked with me for hours. Super cool guy, post Mars Hill. And I think it's a mirror. I think the rise and fall of Mars Hill is a mirror. And I think we need to look at that mirror and say, what is it in our hearts that we keep wanting these guys to be these celebrities? And I think it's good because I think there's also people that aren't planting churches at freaking 27 or 26 years old. And I went through a similar thing with the pastor at the church I'm still at. The head pastor stepped down. He planted a church at like 27, 28, very gifted communicator, very charismatic, entrepreneurial. Church blows up. He makes some poor financial decisions and is forced to step down, right? So I've gone through it. Thankfully, I wasn't on staff at the church then, but that was messy and almost ended our church. It did, and thankfully, it's a miracle that we made it through all that. Financially irresponsible, making some poor decisions, domineering leadership style, like, in my opinion, a lot worse than what I heard on that podcast. but that's the wickedness in our own heart, right? And then the person's just like, oh yeah, I'll go with it. I guess this is working. I'm good at this. Oh, and I think they also believe that God called them to help people. And that's not to say there shouldn't be accountability. There should. I just don't know how to navigate all that. I think that was I think that episode 2 was the best when they talk about the history and the founders myth and how mega churches came to be, and how prior to, I think, 1970, there was like maybe a dozen mega churches, and then afterwards there's like thousands of mega churches because of the people moving back into the suburbs. People moved back into the suburbs, church exploded, and then like now you see people moving back into the cities in the 2000s, and then that's how Mars Hill exploded. I think so many of these things are like changing demographics, and the explosion of YouTube, which is really how he kind of got his platform. Mars Hill was early on YouTube. I didn't think episode 5 was fair at all. I think episode 5 was, they made him out to be this, like, they kept using the word pornographic. Mars Hill was pornographic. And I was like, dude, I went through those series. I went through Peasant Princess, verse by verse. Me and my wife did. I went through that stuff. And never did I walk away with any of that stuff thinking, woman, get on your knees and give me head whenever I demand it. Like, what? If anything, it was love your wife until she's lovely. Cultivate a marriage where intimacy is flourishing and thriving. And so I think episode 5 was a bit disingenuous on their part. I don't think that was fair. Because that's not what I walked away with. Like, I genuinely walked away loving my wife better. And even in the whole, like, Song of Solomon, this is Christians, Christian dancing, a woman dancing for a husband. This is the biblical mandate for dancing. This is the biblical mandate for oral sex, right? And he didn't say mandate. He said something. I don't remember what the word he was. Precedent. This is the precedent for biblical, right? But it was like, build your marriage so that it can get to a place where your wife feels comfortable someday dancing for you with the lights on. Not, you need to do this for me, woman, right? Like that wasn't the application points of any of those messages from when I went through them, and neither was it for my wife. So I wish my wife would strip for me every night, right? Like, but that's not how those messages were applied. Like, that's not what it was. So I think that was a bit misrepresentative of what the actual, and it's also tough to slice through, like, where is he joking and being, and like inflating and being hyperbolic, and when is he teaching application points? I think that's also gets a little lost in context, because yes, you hear stuff back in hindsight and you're like, oh my gosh, can't believe he said that. It's like, yeah, but you just did a whole episode on how he got his communication style from watching comedians. Like, that's intentional. There's some humor in there intentionally. So yeah, I don't know. So that, I would say that, and it's not to say like there's no lines or whatever. It's just say, hey, don't follow guys in their early 30s who are megachurch pastors. Like, don't follow. Like, I'm so grateful that I did not become successful until my mid 30s. And even still, I'm like, Lord, this is some scary stuff that I have this much influence. Let me point to other people. God, you guys go watch Alan Parr. He's in his 40s. You guys like me? Check out Rhythm Church. My buddy Jeff is in his 40s. Like, I'm always pointing to other people, because it's a lot of, having that much influence at that age. Even in my mid 30s, I'm like, man, this is some scary stuff. And that's, unfortunately, the church does that. It promotes people who are charismatic. It promotes people who are certain. There's a lot of certainty in what he was saying. And that it comes across as very reassuring, and it doesn't always flesh out well. So I think that whole thing is a reflection on us, man, honestly. And again, that doesn't mean he doesn't need to be held accountable and whatever those parameters are. Yeah, all that. I think he's worked through a lot of stuff. But I think, I don't think that stuff was very, I think episode 2 was really good. The Lonnie Frisbee stuff was crazy. I think episode 5 I was the most disappointed in. I was like, you guys are reaching for straws. Like, you're just saying stuff and it sounds like this is what it was. And maybe it was for the people there. Maybe the women there felt like they have to give their husbands oral sex every other night and did strip for them. Maybe that's a thing. That is not how me or any of my friends walked away with having read the books. My wife read Real Marriage. She went and took a picture with them. And I was like, babe, when are you going to strip for me? Like, you read this Mark Driscoll. This is what he said, right? That still hasn't happened. So again, like, I think there was a little bit of reaching on episode 5. I thought episode 2 was the best one. I think it's really well put together. And it also brings up the point of, like, why are we rehashing this now? Like, is there an agenda here? What's the point here? Yeah. It's a fascinating story, but it's one of hundreds of stories. That's not a unique story. That's a very common story, because I think we have this thing in our hearts to want the guy to be on a platform and to let the guy who's confident and with all this certainty tell us what to do and simplify our faith. And I think faith is just, there's a lot more nuance there.
Hey y'all, we hope you loved this conversation. Here at Young Married Christian, we are on a mission to see a gospel-centered home made available for every single child in the foster care system. There are 400,000 kids in the foster care system, and there are 400,000 churches in America. Wow, that is crazy. This is absolutely a solvable problem, and we want to be a part of it. If you want to join us in that mission, text the word freedom to 833-370-1610.
833-370-1610. 833-370-1610.
I just did it.
And another thing you can do that is really helpful is to smash the like button on this video.
Smash it like Satan's face. Crush it like it's Lucifer's head.
It really helps us a ton, so smash that like button, subscribe to this channel.
That's it.
Smash the like button on this video.